Hello and welcome. So glad everyone can join us today. If you are welcome to turn on your cameras and unmute yourself, we're going to have a nice conversation. And if you're eating your lunch, you're welcome to have your lunch on this lunchtime call.
Beth, do you deliver?
I just
Sit on your phone, you're gonna
stuff
get
delivery
a
myself.
Okay. What I was trying to say is I'm having intermittent power here. So if I click off, that's what's going on.
I think we all understand this like crazy weather, so I hope this goes smoothly, but I make no guarantees.
Okay.
All right, here we got a few more folks joining, and I've disabled the waiting room. Okay. Did I stop screen sharing?
Nope, I still
Okay.
say it.
Great. Okay. Emily, you want to start and welcome and introduce our panelists?
Sure. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining our 250 resource workshop today. Today, we're going to be doing a media panel. We have Joanne Durako from County Lines Magazine. We have Cara Corridoni from Hello Westchester and Bill Rettew from the Daily Local News.
Awesome. And this is like our first 250 panel, so we're happy to see some familiar faces. Perhaps some new faces. If you don't know me, I'm Beth Krallis, working for Friends of America 250. Emily Dina works with us, and we are also staff of the Chester County Community Foundation. So it's great to have you here today. We're going to give a quick overview. This is a media panel. As Emily mentioned, we're hoping to help get coverage for your America 250 events, but as well, if we have folks here from regular nonprofits, we're so glad to have you. If you haven't heard of America 250, I'll give you a brief summary. In 2026, we'll be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And therefore, we want to help everyone in Chester County who's going to work on commemorative events, programs, functions, or just like putting a little 250 spin on your already existing events and programs. So that is the stage we're in. We're in like the building awareness phase. If you're not aware, we're just here to let you know that this is coming and get you engaged and get you excited and get you more resources and information. So this is a little bit of the timeline, 2026. This year we'll be celebrating the 4th of July. Next year's 4th of July is going to be the big celebration, the big deal. And a lot coming up in Philadelphia in 2026 too. So we're hoping Chester County can benefit from all that tourism taking place. And so we have more information about this on our website and more information when we give you the slides, but the whole goal is to commemorate the historic achievements, renew our commitment to democratic ideas, and inspire the American spirit. And let's see what else we can tell you. Chester County specifically is focused on some themes. These themes are related to the Philadelphia campaign, agricultural bounty, iron and steel, and the path to freedom / unfinished revolution. So you'll be hearing more about these terms, I hope, in the future. There are different themes at the national level, different themes in Pennsylvania, and this is what Chester County has focused on to build upon our rich heritage, our rich history, and build an inclusive celebration for everybody. I think this is saying the same thing, but what's nice about this is you can pull from the areas that are most important to you to build your own campaign, to build your own initiatives. They don't all need to look the same. This is very grassroots, so everyone can get involved where they want to get involved.
Yeah, and you can also, if you're already having events, we're encouraging you to add a Let Freedom Ring overlay on it. So you don't have to change up everything that you're doing with your event and completely rebrand it. Maybe add in a red, white, and blue straw, put some brochures or flyers out for the anniversary. So it doesn't have to be very grand.
That's right. And we can help you and, with little things such as this logo being available for you to add it to your upcoming programming. With that being said, for all these exciting initiatives happening, everything taking place in Chester County, we want it to be big and grand, and we want everybody to know what you're doing. So that's why we're excited to have our panelists here today. We have prepared a few questions, and we want to open it up so that if folks on the call have specific questions, they can ask those too. So Emily and I will moderate this chat. We'll invite our panelists to chime in whenever they wish. And if you want to either put questions in the chat or raise your hand, or we can ask questions, we can save them till the end, whatever kind of flows best, we're open to. So with that said, I'd like to open up the discussion to our panelists. And we'll just start at the beginning. The first question being, in today's noisy world, what makes a story really stand out? And I guess we should also introduce, I'm sorry, we didn't do this at the beginning. Bill Rettew represents the Daily Local. So, traditional print, daily newspaper, mainly published in print. He can tell you more about that. Joanne Durako represents, County Lines Magazine, which is a monthly publication also in print, and they both have digital components as well. And then Cara Corridoni represents Hello Westchester, which is online e-newsletter type of programming. And they all have social media with that. So they'll tell you more about that. But that's why we think they're a very great panel to give you all those different overviews and answer in their own words what makes the most sense to them and their publication. So yes. What makes a story stand out? What makes a compelling pitch, something newsworthy, and how can organizations do more to increase their chances of getting coverage? Anyone want to begin?
There's basically three different types of pitches. There's one where you want to preview and you want us to promote your event. There's one where you want us to and after the fact where you want something about your event in the past, and there's one where you want a reporter to come out. And basically it's just we don't have a lot of time, so it's your lead. You want to have a good lead, who, what, when, where, why, and how, when your event is, and tell us a little bit about it. The first three sentences are really important, so get it out there and let us know what's happening. And you don't have to be real creative, just get the facts out there.
And County Lines primarily does events coverage before the fact, not so much after the fact. So we need to hear early on, and because we're in print, we need to hear very early on. We go to press in the middle of the month, which means right now there's nothing more for June that we can handle except online or in our newsletters. So you have to kind of keep that in mind when you're making a small pitch for an event, or a bigger pitch when you're trying to get us perhaps a story about something that is coming up. So we're kind of before the fact rather than after the fact. We also don't have a reporting staff, so we do things in-house. So we look to you to provide the information to us with compelling photos. If you know County Lines, you know that we are very photo-centric, and a compelling photo says a lot.
Yeah, and I would agree with Joanne in the sense that I don't do a lot of coverage after the fact either. So mine's a weekly newsletter, so it comes out digital. Timeline is a lot quicker than than definitely what Joanne would be dealing with. So I can turn it around quicker. But I do tend to do things beforehand because the part of the newsletter that I try to encourage is attendance at events. So I like to share them ahead of time so people can take advantage of them. Typically only a week or so ahead of time. So this week I did something on Porch Fest and the Studio Art Tour because, they're big prominent events happening this weekend. The other thing that would distinguish me from the other two is that I'm Westchester only. So I only cover what events and things happening in Westchester. So if it's outside that area, there's really you don't need to send it because I probably won't cover it. But if it is in the Westchester area, I can go pretty, smaller events. I tend to go deep, but it's really focused on Westchester.
That's a helpful
Gotcha.
distinction.
Yeah. And you both, Kara and Joanne, you both kind of touched on, how far in advance you'd like to know about events. Bill, I'll turn it to you. How far would you like to know about events or initiatives happening in the county?
You
We'll
can actually spam us. You can do 2, 3 weeks in advance, and you can do a week in advance again if you don't hear from us. And I get a lot of stuff that people do the day before, the day of, which is way too late. So usually a week in advance is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Joanne, do you want to touch on that?
We have kind of different deadlines for different things. For our print, we need that no later than the 1st of the month before. So the 1st of June is when we're going to close out most of our coverage in print for July events. And you can send us things for August, but sometimes they get lost in September. That's a little far out. And beyond that, we have a small staff to organize things. So, try to think, we're thinking about month to month. We have newsletters that come out twice a month. So we can sometimes put in, and those come out around the 4th and the 20th of the month. So things that may miss print may be picked up in the newsletter, but that's also limited in scope. And then finally, we have a website, which will take event information almost any time, but you get a smaller, you get fewer eyes on it on the website. Although we get, I'd say our events are the top stop for people visiting our website. And I also have an overview at the end that gives everybody the deadlines for our various submissions.
And Kara, do you want to add anything?
No, just to kind of mirror that. I publish on Fridays. So again, a week in advance is great, gives much more time to plan. And actually even earlier, I think part of the reason I did a focus this week on the studio tour is because I got a couple of submissions from participants, which is also nice. So if you can give me sources or people that from the local community that are going to be there or participating, it makes it a nice connection to the community, and that puts kind of audience first, which I really like to do. But they both reached out independently, and it kind of bubbled up what may have been a different feature. I decided to go this way because I had some really, unique voices to use. I had time to plan it. If it comes in on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, I can get it in, but you're not going to get maybe the coverage you want necessarily, unless you get lucky. And then there's some weeks there's an open spot and I'm like, oh, perfect. So it is a little bit of chance sometimes with this, but I think if you can give a little bit more time, that is helpful. Like Joanne said, not too much time because it will get lost. My staff is even smaller. It's just me. So you don't want to get it too far buried in the inbox, or like Bill said, just send a reminder if you haven't heard.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely sounds like, for the most part, you all like to cover the pre-event to get awareness spread for attendance purposes. And it seems, I actually would like to ask this instead of assuming, would you prefer to have a press release about it sent to you, or would you like to get your own investigation or your own coverage on it?
I will answer. I think a press release is helpful up front. Some events I may just use off of that. And then there's others that may be a good fit or may have that angle, like I said, with like a contact or somebody I could go interview or meet with, or has a nice visual angle, because that always helps too, that I want to go further. But if you can give me all the, who, what, where, when, why up front in a press release, that would probably ensure at least something gets in, and gives me an idea of whether or not it's worth a larger story.
Mm-hmm. I'll second the press release as well. That also helps us determine whether we will put you in the event section with 100 events, or if we think this is a very special event and we may highlight you to the picks section where we have 5 or 6 top events that particular month. In addition, we have a person on staff who has worked on events for over 40 years. So Marcy Thomasone knows a lot of the events that recur, but she's less familiar with the special things that are planned around the 250 celebration. So do send information to info @valleydell.com to give us even more input.
Yeah, if you can write a relatively clean press release and get it all out there, go a little bit long. We can always cut it a little bit, and you got a better chance. Don't make us work too hard, and get it in the lead or up front. You can get a little creative if you want to talk about an Easter egg hunt. You want to talk about exactly in the lead or the first sentence, and then you want to get into the third sentence. You want to get when it is and where it is. You can do that, and also don't go in blind. Read somebody else's press releases and look at different things and see what other people are doing. That's good advice. So.
Mhm.
Gotcha. I do see, I don't know, would you guys like to take questions in the chat that are relevant, or do you want to hold that till the end?
If it's relevant, I would ask it now.
Okay, so I have a comment here, and it says, if the event is part of a series, do you prefer to focus on one of those events in particular or the series overall?
We'd likely highlight the best, the one that we think is most interesting to our readers, and then mention the others and include links.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to know both, just because it gives it context, whether you're focusing on one event or doing all of them at one time. I think that would just be a judgment call, but I think knowing that the events are part of a series is an important piece of information that should be included, so that, we can either you can focus on one event and convey that, or you could focus on the series. But I think knowing that it's part of something is probably important to include.
Just throw everything at us at once, and we'll look at it and make a decision.
Awesome. Okay, so let's keep this moving a little bit. It sounds like everyone has been in agreement. Is the best way to submit information to you via a press release? Is there a better, do you get a lot of phone calls? Do you get a lot of like messages on social media, or are you mostly getting emails? And what really works best for you?
For me, I would say email works best. It's less likely to get lost. I do get messages on social media and Messenger. Instagram isn't so bad, but Messenger can get lost for me. I don't check it as often as I should. So it depends. I don't mind being hit up on social for quick things. You know what I mean? Like if you have something you want to give me a heads up, it's coming. That's great. I don't particularly. It's hard getting like a full press release or all the details via social because I have to take it out. I can't use it from the social app. So it's easier for me if you're just sending, it via email. It's also less likely to get lost. Monitoring multiple different sources of information, sometimes I forget to go back and check certain ones again. So so if you can keep it all in one place, you're more likely to get it in.
Ditto for the power of email. We have 3 people who may have to interact with the information. So it's much easier for us to share an email and locate the information again in email, archive it in an email from an email. So yeah, that's right.
Will you all be giving us your emails and contact information as part of this? Or I don't know whether that's an Emily or a Beth question.
No, I believe we put it on the front page of the handout, which we will share with everybody afterwards.
Great.
They will also, if anyone wants to add in like the email address or contact information in the chat, we can share it there too. It's different for Cara versus Joanne versus Bill, like because there's more staff at the Daily Local than there are working at Hello Westchester. So you might also want to include the newsroom in addition to Bill, something like that. He can tell you more.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Just I Collis Townsend with the Kennett Library, and we're going to be doing a lecture series on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and its amendments. And so it's a series of different events that'll be coming out. If I'm hearing this discussion correctly, what we should do is kind of frame up, pun intended, I guess, the discussion, and then you guys follow it. And if we have a particularly good speaker, because we do hope to recruit some good speakers, then we can give you the heads up that, hey, on this particular day, we've got this fabulous auditorium, and we also have live streaming capabilities that feed it into your feed, so to speak, and leverage it.
Mhm.
For
Can I
sure.
say that I visited Collis's great library on Wednesday night? Thursday, was it?
No, Wednesday. Yeah.
But that's a spectacular venue, and what you do there is going to be great.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you. Last night we had Mark Bowden interviewing Marty Moskowitz. Sold out, just fabulous. So good things
Great.
are going on, and we would very much like to be part of this effort.
Terrific.
Beth, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. One of the things that's sort of a quandary for us in northern Chester County is that 2026, of course, is going to be the big focus, but so much of our stuff happens in 2027 as far as annual anniversary sort of things. So do you think the coverage, it's more important to be part of the 2026 than to stretch out things to the appropriate times for us?
I still hope there's a newspaper then.
What is that?
I still hope there's a newspaper then.
Yeah.
Jeez, Bill.
Yeah.
What organization are you representing?
French and Pickering Creeks Conservation Trust. So we have the preserve with Warwick Furnace that made the cannons that have been dug up, and that's been an exciting thing for everyone. And also, it was coming over from the Brandywine conflict and the paoli, and that's all a year later.
So I'll briefly show you this timeline. Over 2027, the initiative will continue for the Paoli Battle of the Clouds, for Valley Forge. So there will be ongoing coverage for America250. It started probably 10 years ago. There's been planning, there's been coverage. You will see coverage now. You will monthly. There's Brandywine stories being published right now in County Lines Magazine, thanks to Joanne. So there are things happening before 2026, and things will happen well beyond 2026. It's not going to be limited coverage. In addition, this panel is meant to be super helpful for 2026, but I think it will be helpful for everything that you're doing, whether it be related to 2026, or I'm sorry, for whether it be related to 250 or whether it be related to your regular ongoing programming. So it should be whatever you're doing whenever it's most convenient for your organization or whenever it's most crucial for your organization.
Yeah, well, we'd like it to be so that it serves the Chester County 250 well, and we're flexible. So
well, we can maybe work with you in a different capacity and have a conversation afterwards or another day to discuss what makes the most sense, but it's very grassroots. So you can do it how it works best for your organization. We don't want to tell you how to run it or when to run it, but if we can be helpful, we can lend an ear and give you some feedback.
Yeah. What about the press? Do they have a preference?
We're doing our big focus from now through July 2026, and then we'll be a little less focused on that. But we always follow what the conservancies are doing, and we know the good work that French and Pick are doing. So, keep sending us information. And this may be a good time to say that in our events coverage, starting in 2026, we're going to allocate a special sidebar that focuses on events related to the Friends of America 250. So we will highlight things specifically for our readers, but that can't go on forever. So we thought we'd start in January and go through July of 2026, in
Mhm.
addition to our other coverage.
Great, thank
Like
you.
like the other guys, we like to do the previews, but I like to get out and do things too and cover things. So let us know. We're going to give you my phone number. So if you send an email and we don't respond, call me directly. My number. Don't call the newspaper. Call my number. So we'll give you my number.
All right, good. That would be great.
Awesome. Okay, I think we heard email works best, and Bill had mentioned also phone numbers. So, do you have any common mistakes that you want to let us know about so that we don't make them when it comes to sending those press releases and pitches to you all in the media? Anything you see that you look at and you're like, nope, not gonna cover that?
If we don't get a compelling photo that is high resolution, it's harder for us to include something in print and give it much presence. Also, if we have a good contact who's responsive and we have follow-up questions, that can be problematic. So we're looking for, if we get all the information that we need in a beautiful high-res photo, the chance of being covered goes up exponentially. So that
Yes.
really.
And you're looking for one good photo that represents the story. No like collage of photos, no like videos, just one photo.
Photos are best for us, and you can send us a few and we'll pick what works best for that space in the magazine, because we can tell whether we could use something that's a close-up or a far away shot or a particular color because of the layout. We can post some videos in links in our events newsletter, but we are pretty much photo driven. We're a very visual magazine, so photos rule.
And I know what you mean by high quality photo, but for anyone here who doesn't, do you know like the print resolution you're looking for so that we can give people an idea of what that is?
For high resolution, we mean 300 DPI or dots per inch. And there is somebody in your organization who knows that. People with a good iPhone on a sunny day can take pictures that are high resolution. You just have to hit and select it when you forward it.
You want the high resolution photo from your camera, not the low resolution photo from your Facebook page.
Exactly.
That's what that means.
I don't even want the low resolution photo from your Facebook page. Like even in email, it's got to be a certain level. And I've gotten plenty that are, I think, thumbnails, and you're like, well, this is just way too small. So yeah, so that photo size.
What about
is
the reverse
important.
question? What's your maximum file size?
That's
you're
true. When you're
5
emailing,
megabytes?
sometimes it's hard to email you two high resolution photos. For Bill, I know specifically.
We don't like high resolution photos. My computer's 12 years old. I'm in the newspaper business. And since we're talking about photos, a couple little hints. Step two feet in 2 steps closer than you think you need to. Look at the background. Make sure somebody's not photobombing you. Make sure a pole isn't sticking out of somebody's head. And when you look at good pictures, think about where the person was standing when they took the picture. So, you can take a good picture, and we always have to have a picture if you're going to get it online, because we have to have at least one picture. If you send us 3 good pictures, it's a much better chance of using that as the centerpiece on the front page, where you get the big picture on the front page with the above the fold. So pictures are very important to us too, like they are for county lines. So, actually, low resolution is okay. So lower resolution.
I was going to say pictures are, I think, important across the board. Same in Hello Westchester too. Again, knowing your publication, I like more candid shots. So I'd much prefer to see people at the events, interacting at the events, rather than staged photo ops. You know what I mean? Like a group of people, with arms around each other's shoulders might be good for your organization. It's not great for my readers. So keeping that in mind. Also, I need a horizontal image. If it's a vertical image in a newsletter, it's going to take up half my newsletter in an image only. So things like that, are important too, to And getting a good photo, like everybody said, it will bump you up, like you'll get the lead of a section versus maybe, being a side note or a couple liner that just says, hey, this is happening. So.
Well, I think that brings up a good point about tailoring your press release to your, intended recipient so that you can give the publication kind of what they're looking for. Something I didn't hear you mention, but I think has been important in previous interactions I've had with each of you. Are you all looking for ways to identify the people in the photos? Do you need some sort of caption in order to publish it? And if we have like photo credit or something, like we paid a photographer to come to our events, are we allowed to include that information?
So,
We like captions.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Joanne.
It kind of depends. We are looking for images that will attract readers to read the text. So identifying 8 people in a group photo is unlikely to do that, rather than identifying the fun they were having at a particular fundraiser that did a good thing. So we're really looking for kind of
descriptions. Okay.
And in terms of caption, so caption information, give us a bunch and we'll decide what works for that section. Photo credits, we'll put them in if we have to. Sometimes it really starts to clutter the layout and design. So I understand photographers have to make a living too, but just in terms of layout, it can be problematic. And I can take large photos, 20, 25, 30 megs. So send them on email.
Yeah, we like cut lines and captions. You don't have to do it though. Over 5 people, 4 or 5 people in the photograph, you don't have to give everybody's name. We do like titles in a cut line, and we'll give photo credit. We almost have to. We went through a thing with liability where we took photos off the internet and got in trouble with that. So we give photo credits, and people like that, and it doesn't cost us anything. And we just write submitted photo in the name of the photographer. Always include that and put it in there. It's free and it's fun, and it's a keepsake. And not everybody's a professional photographer. Not everybody gets their name in the paper every day. So it's kind of cool. So
I will give credit to, just let me know so that I can do that. Again, don't usually use the names unless the person in the photo is related to the story. So if you've given me a story about a certain person and then there's a picture, let me know that that's the picture I'm looking at, because sometimes I get it and I'm like, is this the same person you've mentioned? And it's not always clear. So there are times when that is handy. And again, like I think everybody said, you can leave that description and we can decide what to do with it. There are times people leave a paragraph caption and I'm thinking, they don't expect me to run all this, right? So know that it does get cut down and we'll pick and choose.
And I'd like to clarify one other thing on photos. We need assurance from people who submit them that we have the right to run the photo. So I was a former copyright lawyer, so I have to be very careful about having the right to run photography. And that's why we will put the photographer's credit if required, but if not required, sometimes we don't, often we do. But if you submit a photo to us, I will generally write back asking asking you to assure us in writing that you have the right to submit the photo. Because we once had an issue also, Bill, when one of our interns took a copyrighted photo.
Well, that is a good reminder. Thank you, Joanne. That is a good practice. Just as a marketing professional for a nonprofit, that is a good practice to always have photo credit, even if it's just on your organization's, Facebook page. Make sure that the people photographed know they're being photographed and approved being photographed, especially with children involved. And similarly, we had a legal issue too. So it seems like the bots that are looking for these things on the internet will find you if you publish copyrighted material that you didn't purchase. So be extra vigilant. You don't want to pay a fee and get into a lawsuit for something like that. Emily, you want to continue? I think we're about question number 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of influences you for what you choose to cover, whether that be, a national story or some trends online? What kind of influences do you guys experience when you're doing media coverage?
I guess we're kind of coming from the question of, do you get so many stories at the end of the day that, you're getting 100 emails and you can only cover 10? Or are we mistaken? Because sometimes we submit stories and we don't always get coverage, and we don't know if that's because there's things going on unbeknownst to us that you are covering, or if there's, you know, like so much competition amongst the events happening in Chester County, or you're really just covering what's happening at like, what's trending news, and we don't fit in with the trending news. If you can help give us some context, that might answer some of the questions.
I choose things to focus on depending on what I think will interest our readership. So we are Chester County and beyond, not too far beyond, just a little bit beyond. So we're looking for local stories that would have local appeal. And our monthly magazine has 1 or 2 main themes and then some other sections. So I can't cover all history all the time. We actually get overwhelmed with events and information and press releases and new restaurants and all kinds of things that are happening all the time. So we have to sift through things. So that's why a well-done press release with a great photo will rise to the top.
And what will do well for your readers based on maybe like your past articles, and are you tracking like online engagement or something else?
All those things. And after 48 years of publishing, County Lines has kind of a style and a focus. So consistent with that.
Without repeating coverage too, right? Like
Correct.
Keeping it different. A challenge for all of us who are trying to get seen and coverage, but definitely makes sense.
I will say too, if you can tie to a trend or a national story. I don't cover national news by any means. It's hyper local, but if there's a way to kind of interpret something going on at the national level locally, I think that's interesting. So if there's like a national press around a trend or something, and somebody has a way locally that that they are kind of working off of that, or they have a connection to it, those stories are, I think, interesting, and they are a new way to kind of tell a local story. So yeah, I think there are, if there are ways that you can tap into something else beyond just your one event or what's going on, if you can tie it to something bigger, it does make it, does help, break through. Events is one of the areas we do get, at least I get a lot of. I do have an event list, so I put them up there. So I'll get a lot of events, and sometimes, they do start sounding a little bit the same. And so, yeah, whatever you can do to kind of, make it stand out is helpful.
Great.
We're the daily local news, and I know that we do a lot of stuff from Montgomery County and Delaware County and stuff, and that's just because we just have a couple of reporters. But I do all local stuff, Chester County, and as a reporter, I'm a curious little guy, and if I'm interested in something, it's going to get in, and that's the barometer right there. If I'm interested, everybody else I think is going to be interested too. That doesn't always work that way. We have a counter. It's called Marful, and it shows us everything for the whole region. But also we have at the end of the articles, if you scroll down, the top 10 stories at any given time, and you can see what people are reading, and it's amazing. If it bleeds, it leads. A lot of times, a lot of stuff you'd be surprised gets up there. So But I'm curious, and that's what I cover, the stuff that I'm interested in. Sometimes you got to cover something, you know. Railhan has to cover something with the courts. We had to do a crime story, something like that. I had to do a political story. I had to do the budget from Westchester every year. You know, if taxes are going to go up in West Goshen, we do that. You know, but there's certain things we have to do. But basically, it's just what piques my interest and what piques my editor's interest. Sometimes it's Veterans Day. You go out and I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've covered probably 20 Veterans Day parades, you know, and that's just what you do. So, and some we haven't covered, and there's just certain things you do every year, and there's certain things that you do because they're interesting. So I do a column, and I get to do whatever I want, and that's kind of fun. So that's where we get into a little bit of creativity and do something a little bit different and travel and stuff like that. So but anyway, it's all my curiosity and what I think people want to read. So
And that's very helpful for me, at least. I'm going to keep this conversation moving a little bit so we have time at the end to go over some specifics for county lines, anything that our panelists want to add, and leave room for questions for anybody who's joining the panel, because you might have more things that came to mind, and you can chime in the chat just as a reminder, or you can hold your questions till the end. So yeah, I just want to know a little bit, are there, like, what kinds of stories do you hope to see more of in your inboxes? And if you don't know what kinds of stories, maybe you can just tell us like something that came across your inbox that was really like, gave you a moment of pause, and we can all keep in our minds as something to emulate. If nothing comes to mind, I'll withdraw my question.
I'll go back to what I just said. Anything unique, novel, you know, just try to think of what is about the event that makes it, you know, interesting. To Bill's point, like, what would we want to know more about? What's curious to, again, our readers, the end user. You do get a lot of the same, you know, and it's nice to have the details. That's very important, because that's just extra work on our part if it is interesting. But if you can think of something that is different, you know what I mean, about the event, or what makes it really cool or special or unique, or does it have food and beer? Because that always does really well with my readers. But let us know, because I think that's it. You get a lot of the same, and then it's all important, but it doesn't necessarily make you, you know, want to rush out and cover. You might get yourself in there, but not necessarily you know, a lead story.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want something different. There's a guy out in Downingtown that every couple months, he and his church, they fix things. They have parts to lamps, and they fix computers, and they do it all for free. They just charge for the parts, and that's kind of an interesting story. Why does this guy do this, and how's he got this talent, and how cool is that, you know? And there's I was last night, I was over at across from the Wawa, and there's 15 new restaurants in Westchester. Who would have thought it? And they're all delivering in less than a half an hour. And there's a filet restaurant, whatever his name is. It's going to have, you can order a filet mignon delivered to your door. So, you know, stuff like that. You know, you want to tell people that you want to inform people. You want to tell people stuff they don't know, and you want to get stuff out there. You want to get the little facts out there. I always tell people when I interview people, give me numbers, give me facts, give me stuff that people don't know. So anyway, I know we're short on time, so anyway, we'll go with that.
And I was just flipping through our May issue and was reminded that the surprise of having Knockout Roses have a connection with Chester County. So I'll echo the other panelists' point on things that are surprising and have an interesting connection to Chester County. So this is an opportunity to bring those untold stories out. that have a historic connection and the connection to 250.
So we have one more question on our list before we turn it over to our audience to ask any additional questions. We, as members of, nonprofits and municipalities and your local constituents, want to be your trusted sources. So when you're writing stories and you need a quote from people affected or people who represent organizations for people who are affected, we want to be your sources. Is there anything that we can do to help become, build that relationship with you and, be top of mind when you're looking to write those stories that you can rely on us?
I just jotted down quality information, timely provided, it's accurate, and you're responsive, and pictures.
Yes. Okay. That's some good advice in general, and also to really build those relationships, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add?
I just check in every once in a while. I mean, if you've introduced yourself and we have we've met or via email, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, just check in every once in a while, maybe send me a little bit of a, it doesn't always have to be a big event or something, but maybe there's something small. It is one thing. Hello Westchester is focused on Westchester, but because it's all Westchester and not the whole county, I can go deeper. So sometimes if it's just a small thing, I will include it because I think it's fun to mix big stories with little tiny, updates that you got a new planter or you're changing out the flowers to be red, white, and blue this month, and that's kind of cool. But just so just keep touching base, and then I know you're there when I need something or I have a and I want an expert or a source. It's nice to know somebody, like Joanne said, is going to be responsive, and I can send a quick email. And so yeah.
Well, that's helpful. We don't want to annoy you as members of the press, but we want to maintain those relationships beyond just like transactional event related specific coverage. So with that, I think I see a question in the chat here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so Jennifer has asked, how can CC250 help me promote our events next year? So great question. So we'd love to help get press coverage for all of your events happening next year, this year.